see. Just again. Okay. There we go. Gonna mute that tab. No, excuse me for that. I am sorry. I just had a cereal and banana burp. Because that's what I've been eating. Hello everyone, welcome back to PowerWash Simulator. Last time we've handled a few jobs and didn't complete one other, as you can tell. And you're probably...
Gnomes!
Yeah, I bit off more than we could chew. And you're probably wondering, what happened to all the cash that we had? We had over 1,000. I splurged. Don't worry, it was just for one skin I missed, a pair of gloves from Chaos that I know he would probably like.
No, I mean, yes.
And a good chunk of it was soap for future jobs. Since we've already got all the equipment and everything. But yeah. Oh, they've already provided us with soap.
Yep, I told you.
Anyways.
Do not hit that restart job button.
Don't worry, I'm not.
Man.
Anyways. Also, happy belated FanFest week!
Woo!
Yeah, a lot happened with FanFest. We got word on the next expansion for Final Fantasy XIV. Oh, wait, before I continue on, I'm being rude. I'm once again, joined in by the always eccentric Mr. Chaos.
Indeed, I even have a hat this time.
And the always fearsome Linkzilla.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, anyways. So, yeah. FanFest just passed. At least part 1. Yeah, they got 3 FanFest shows. And I'm going to be looking at the live streams for all of them. Because the next one will be happening in Europe in October. Specifically London. That's London, England.
As opposed to London, Japan.
But yeah, I'm super excited because this recent we got announcements on both the upcoming patch that's also going to be happening at the same time, and the next expansion. This one's not clean. How's that one not clean? Anyway, which is called Dawn Trail. Which is basically Vacation Arc, which is basically New Area Arc, which is basically bring on the Civil War memes. Captain America and Iron Man, because apparently in this next lighthearted story, you and your friends are going off to a new area in the southeast, in the new world. Completely different from Eorzea and everything else. After preventing pretty much the apocalypse. And apparently there's some sort of a succession thing going on, and apparently, not to mention rumors of a city of gold, and that kind of splits the party a little bit. But Yoshi-Piggy says that this one's definitely going to be a little more lighthearted than the old one, than what's been going on between Aromaborn, Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, and Endwalker. Because that story right there, it's done. This is a whole new adventure.
Tra-la-la.
Hey, Chaos.
Yes.
I did get you those new gloves. Yeah, I recall correctly, you go to... Yeah, it's under clothing. Hopefully you have access to it.
Hopefully I can properly utilize them.
Yep.
I always forget how to actually put it on.
Yeah, you just hit the center thing, hit clothing, and press gloves. And you should see a pair of green and black gloves. There you go! Not exactly the same shade, but hey, I figured you liked them.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, and of course, they've already announced that one of the tribes, friendly tribes that we're going to be helping out is something from a game you played before. Here, Link, from 10.
Ah. Who are they going to be? The Xanarkins?
No, let's see here. The Pelu Pelu. They're apparently like a tribe of like child-sized people that wear bird masks
Oh, yeah.
and speak very quickly. So they're going to be a tribe that we're going to be helping out during the post-story stuff. And if I'm correct, they're going to be one of 3. And I'm already guessing that one of them is most likely the Mamulja, since we're going to their neck of the woods for this adventure.
Because we're after the City of Gold. And I
Yep.
like gold!
And helping and figuring out who's going to be the successor to their people.
Only thing I know for sure is that Meteor Survivor has become Will Turner and will likely get all the money and gold in the process of this.
So is that what Gat was talking about?
Yeah, basically, Meteor Survivor has gotten himself another glow up for this expansion. And
He gets to be happy because the apocalypse isn't happening for once.
yep, he's on vacation.
No apocalypse, no war. Just going over to the New World to visit the not at Aztec Empire and looking for some gold.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. And we've already got an idea that of course with every expansion comes some new classes. And one is pretty much guaranteed. They haven't given an official name yet, but in the trailer, Meteor Survivor is going to be the new scouting melee class, which looks kind of like a pirate. So it's going to be either pirate or corsair, depending on how they're going to name it.
The only thing I know for certain is that it's likely going to become her brand new melee class, given the fact that she has the easiest access to pirate-related gear.
I started Libza Laminza, baby!
Yeah, so you becoming a pirate makes complete sense.
And if you think about it, you know what the other class that uses scouting armor gear?
Ninja?
Yeah, Yoshi P solved the whole debacle of pirates versus ninja.
Yep.
He put them both in the same armor class. So yeah, anyways. Let's see. Perfect. There we go. So yeah, and then of course Yoshi P comes out with a printed shirt that gives a hint to what the second class is. You want to know what? Since the second class is guaranteed to be a caster DPS, thus giving us our fourth caster since we have 4 tanks and 4 healers. You want to know what his shirt had on, Link?
What?
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, are they gonna somehow be referenced as well?
Not quite. You see, with Yoshi P and his shirts, he picks them like, this might sound like really weird, but he goes to extreme length to pick the best shirt that's probably the most obscure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, when Stormblood was being released, they were like, alrighty then, here's what we'll do, gang. And went through the effort of getting a Spider-Man shirt. Which, does that mean it was referencing anything with related to spiders and whatnot? No. Because it was specifically a Sam Raimi Spider-Man shirt, with Sam Raimi being very close to samurai.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ended up being what happens. And for the most part, that has stuck.
Yep. And then he decided to put... And then for, let's see. And then when Endwalker was announced, he wore a Reaper shirt.
And what did that symbolize?
The Reaper, of course. Which is Dragoon's new melee buddy.
Yep.
And now we have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, guaranteed, thanks to the trailer, we already know that Pirate and or Corsair has been pretty much guaranteed.
So what do you think the turtles symbolize?
Okay. Let me answer that question with another question. What were the turtles named after?
The Renaissance painters.
Exactly.
Artists, really, because...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in past Final Fantasy games, there was a specific type of caster class called the Pictomancer.
Pictomancer.
Yeah, which uses magic through art.
Damn it! That's actually really good.
Exactly.
Somebody contact Egad and Luigi. Van Gore has returned.
Oh God, no! Not again.
So yeah, that is my theory on what the second class is. We are having the Pictomancer class.
Also, tell Mario to get his hands on Flood. I have a feeling the paintbrush is going to show up again.
I wish it came back more often, especially beyond the spin-offs.
So yeah,
I wish that we had gotten a proper Sunshine sequel.
Yeah, but yeah, that is my theory on what the two classes are: Corsair and Pictomancer.
Well, honestly, it's a good deduction work.
Mm-hmm. Also, they also revealed the most funniest thing that got me burst out laughing so hard for the whole segment. You want to know what it is?
What is that?
A Fall Guys collab. That's-
Fall Guys will collab with anybody nowadays, won't they?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It went both ways.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, here's what happened. Okay, Fall Guys is, of course, with their collabs are getting costumes and that. So we're getting, like, a few costumes related to Final Fantasy 14. That's fine and all. What I didn't expect was the fact that for the Gold Saucer, we're getting a Fall Guys-esque obstacle course race as a new game in the Gold Saucer.
Wow.
Themed Fall Guys and everything. So, we may just have our new perma crossover thing in the game. Our second one. The first one being Monster Hunter with the Rathalos hunt.
And I thought the craziest thing in regard to 14 recently was the fact that the Venonsibia technically exists.
We would say
And-
why, but that's major spoilers. But yeah. But yeah, apparently there's a more, but yeah, not gonna say where, not gonna say how, but apparently there is now officially a very friendlier Venom symbiote somewhere in 14. But yeah. So yeah, we also have Fall Guys. Hello?
Yep.
Okay.
Alright, just focusing
Yeah.
on this gnome statue here.
Yeah, so what do you think of that, Link?
I honestly don't know what I think about all of this.
Okay. And then, of course, they announced 6.5. And that's where my real geek outs happened. Because they are wrapping up the whole Final Fantasy IV segment. With including both the final dungeon and final boss. And that's as far as I'm going to say to keep it light on spoilers for that. What I'm definitely excited for is all the new music that's going to come out for both things.
Oh yeah.
Which leads to my to the main topic I really wanted to hopefully discuss in detail. Video game music.
Woo!
Because we all have our favorite composers out there that likes to bring in a lot of music into our games. And my favorite is definitely Mr. Masayoshi Soken.
Yeah. Prior to playing 14, I think Crush 40 would be the closest one I can come up with.
Oh
That's
yeah.
just because I was a big fan of the Sonic games.
And even though the Sonic games had a few little minor hiccups every now and then, you can always guarantee the music would be good bangers.
Yeah. And whenever, a project was screwed over for it's a massive way if the music didn't suffice.
Mm-hmm. Who's your favorite video game composer, Link?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that we've already done this topic, and I think
Oh,
that in
yeah.
a previous video, I pretty much gushed about the composers for the Legend of Zelda franchise.
Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Well then, do you have any favorite in-game remixes? Because sometimes when there's like a franchise and there's like a lot of music going around, sometimes composers like to remix their own tunes, and it still turns out really good.
I don't know if it actually qualifies as a remix, but going back to what Hayas was talking about with Crush 40, I mean, like, they are basically, like, so synonymous with Sonic that it's really a wonder why Sega even uses any other bands at all. Because, like, case in point, back when they did the Shadow the Hedgehog game, the hero ending, the hero story, has a song featured in the end credits called All Hail Shadow. Now, I don't know who basically, like, originally wrote and did that song, but the version from Shadow the Hedgehog is clearly not the favorite version. Then, when Sonic 06 came out, they got Crush 40 to completely redo the song, and that is where the song truly shines. So, like, basically, it just proves the point. Like, why would you even bother with anybody but Crush 40?
I don't know. Sonic Frontier's got some really good hits in there too.
Yeah. Still waiting for a few more updates to stabilize it on the Switch before I go back to it.
Yeah.
Part of me doesn't even believe that Sonic Frontiers is even out. I mean, seriously, like, people
It
just
is out.
stopped talking about it.
It is out. In fact, I already got it here for the PlayStation for future streams.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah.
It's just so weird. They were talking about it all up in anticipation right before it got released. Then it gets released, and suddenly everybody goes radio silent on it.
There we go. But yeah. Going back to our original topic, that is like the remixes and remakes of music and everything. Soken is actually very good at that himself. In fact, gets me stoked at what other tunes he's going to remake for 6.5 out of 4 with the Lunar Subterrane.
All I know is that I hope that Clad in Darkness gets a remake.
Oh yeah.
We didn't get it. I thought we would have gotten it in the last update, but we didn't.
Yeah.
I like the track we got instead, but it's not the track I was hoping for.
Yeah, if you're probably wondering, Clad in Darkness is Golbez's theme.
A very menacing theme for the main antagonist of 4.
Well, I didn't expect a track called Clad in Darkness to be the Care Bears theme.
Yeah, but of course he did not one, but 2 different versions of the Battle Against the 4 Fiends theme for when we battle against 2 of the 4 Fiends. Each one unique, comparing to the fiend that we were fighting, which of course are Barbaricha and Rubicante. The other 2 were redelegated to dungeon bosses, but even then, oh gosh, the dungeon boss themes, which are remakes of like another type of boss-like theme from 4, oh, it was awesome.
There weren't slouches in the boss department either, despite being relegated to being dungeons.
Exactly. And it kind of makes sense for Cagnazzo and Scarmiglione, because those 2 were like considered the weaker of the 4 fiends anyway. But boy, did Yoshi P and his crew give them loads of love. And even still kept them somewhat in character too. But yeah, back to the music. Ugh. I'm just looking forward to even what new tunes is going to be brought out in Dawn Trail too, because already the trailer theme seems to give off the sense of both a vacation and an adventure.
We always like to see here.
Oh, yeah.
God knows that it'll be a lot more fun than watching Marvel's Secret Invasion, which recently had its final episode.
Like final episode of the season or final episode of the show period?
Let's face it, none of these shows are ever going to get renewed for a second season.
Good.
Yep.
I mean, they keep saying that WandaVision is somehow going to have a second season, despite the fact that Wanda's supposed to be dead.
It'll just be about Vision making an artificial Wanda, of course.
And I'm still mad
The cycle
about that.
continues.
I mean, I am, like, legit still mad about that, because the series literally ended with Vision not only coming back to life, but getting his memories back. So this is the real Vision. He's not something that Wanda just created. And instead of literally going to talk his wife down, calm her down, and bring her back to sanity, he just literally goes off and pieces out. We have no idea where he is, and literally that is what allowed Multiverse of Madness to happen, and a whole lot of innocent people got killed. Like, Viz, where are you on that? You're practically Marvel Superman, and you just let a whole lot of innocent people die.
If you think that bad, let's just take to mind what Secret Invasions ended up doing with Captain Marvel. Well, which I find very ironic.
Like, how did they make her the end-all, be-all this time?
Not quite. They effectively, well, you know how her movie ended with her like trying to help the Skrull find a new home and whatnot.
Yep.
Well, apparently, instead of going off with Carol Danvers, first, like as we've seen, a lot of them actually choose to stay on Earth
Yeah.
and work and effectively end up working for Nick Fury. And the main reason why the conflict happens is because they were unable to find a planet that with them in the whole time span between the end of Captain Marvel and the start of Civil War. So the Skrulls plan on getting humanity to nuke themselves with World War III.
Unable or more like unwilling, because I'm actually kind of seeing it more or less the latter. So basically it's pretty much what we all confirmed. All this is pretty much Carol's fault.
Yes, but they put the blame on Nick Fury instead of on the person who can actually travel through space.
Anyways.
Yep. Sorry.
But yeah, and anyways, getting back to the original topic, and sometimes in Final Fantasy XIV, he's remixing his own, Soken is remixing his own music for, like, new tracks. Be it for, like, a battle, or even just mainly an environment. Like a town or a city somewhere.
Yeah. Usually when it's fitting, he won't use it willy-nilly for any old thing.
Mm-hmm.
The musical theme sticks. So, like when dealing with a villainous character who's very naturalistic, you'll get a version of their theme that you know is fitting of that. When you go to their hometown or whatnot, the vision that is a little bit less villainy. I mean, it's a lot more on the neutral side. Potentially even more hopeful if it's a actually decent civilization.
Oh, yeah. Those who played Shadowbringers will know what we're talking about.
Yep.
But yeah, have you ever met up with any themes like that, Link?
Nope.
Huh. Yeah.
Oh boy, we're on the dreaded 99%. Yeah. As the conversation is dying now, would you mind if I go back into the secret invasion?
Yep.
Alrighty. Yeah. So yeah. So the whole show pretty much is a deconstruction of Nick Fury as a old wash-up has-been who only ever managed to get anything done in his spy work was because he had a network of alien shapeshifters that almost nobody knew about.
What do they think that they're trying to accomplish by making all of these once cool and mysterious characters and revealing them to be so lame?
No idea.
I mean, I think I know what they
the-
think they're trying to accomplish. What they're trying to accomplish is that they're trying to make the certain characters look bad so that they can end up replacing them with the characters that they want to look good. But in reality, they're making all the characters look bad, and we no longer have the interest to keep watching anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's what happens because because despite Nick Fury having loads of time and history with the Skrulls or whatnot, there's this second secret agent lady, I think from Britain or whatever. I don't know. She showed up in some of the other MCU shows, I think.
And she basically does everything that Fury does except better.
Yes, but she's not like doing it on her own separately. She isn't specifically doing it with Fury and whatnot. Nah, they do get to interact a little. Like, I think she has her, like in the first episode, she has her agents manage to nab Nick Fury and bring him to her, which was done pretty easily and whatnot. And, well, effectively, Fury has to get bailed out through a lot of the episodes through one means or another, or straight up just let the Skrulls do their thing. Like in episode one, they get a tip from Talos's daughter Gaia, that there's going to be a bombing in a Russian place, so they go to do that. To stop that, I mean, not do that. That because they plan on framing America, and wouldn't you know it, the daughter who's otherwise aligned with the terrorists didn't give them all the right information, and
Bless you.
the terrorist leader, Gravik, ends up blowing up the place. Who, by the way, if you're wondering why he really wants to kill humanity so bad, despite the fact that the Skrulls have otherwise been living peacefully with humanity up to this point, granted living as secret agents, but still, it is because Gravik is salty that Nick Fury broke a promise to find them a new planet.
Despite the fact that he never actually made that promise and isn't capable of fulfilling it anyway.
Yeah. Because, he's 9. The kid was 9 and he really took it personally.
I mean, I don't see him basically, haranguing and harassing the person who has the ability to fly through space and shoot lasers from her arms.
Yeah, that's probably the funniest bit of them all. It was never Nick who made the promise, and even if it was, because this is a space-faring people, but I'll go into that later on. Fun. So, they fail. Maria Hill, who spent the episode being like, Nick, look, you're clearly not able to do this job. You're old, wash up, and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. She ends up getting shot and killed by Gravik, who pretended to be Nick Fury, to get her to lower her guard. Because, in a thrilling spy drama of intrigue and spy stuff, dealing with a known shape-shifting menace, no one even bothers to check to see if each others are shapeshifters. Not even once. Not even the actual alien shapeshifters. Which I think would be very paramount.
That's just stupid.
I think that this entire thing is stupid. I mean, for years, people thought that the people making these movies and shows actually communicated with each other, that they had a plan. No, they didn't have a plan. They had an outline, which is a skeleton of a plan. And yet, they had absolutely no oversight to make sure that they weren't accidentally stepping on anybody else's toes. Like, seriously, the whole thing with Nick Fury basically fakes his own death in the Winter Soldier so that he can basically go into hiding now that S.H.I.E.L.D. has basically been compromised. And yet, him being in hiding literally doesn't seem to matter. Yeah?
Okay, you kind of cut out for a second there. There we go.
Everybody.
Oh, really? I heard him fine.
Well, I see that the stream kind of cut out there for a second there.
Oh gosh,
No.
dang it. Internet, please behave!
I'm just, like, basically, like, within a few movies, everybody seems to know that he's alive again, and now, basically, Chaos is saying that Nick Fury, the hardest to find person in the entire world, the guy who literally knows how to avoid the people who are looking for him, because he was one of the people who usually did the looking, yeah, somehow or another, he's easily able to be found within one episode.
Yeah. Yep, and the people who even asked for him to come out of the space station that they had him on specifically went out of their way to say, oh yeah, I didn't want you here, it was just Talos, the Skrull, who wanted you here. And she, you know, gets shot and killed by the end of the episode. So that's fun. Let's see. I think episode 2, the heroes regroup with the villains having already done their plan, and the show does something that I think goes against any proper thrilling spy drama. It's that the enemy, for whatever reason, we see their perspective. Like, at first it's for Gaia, who is to serve as the who pretty much, despite aligning with the guy who ended up killing her mother, which he knows, by the way, Gravik knows who her parents are, but for whatever reason, Gravik doesn't think that Gaia will betray him for killing her mother.
There we go. Done.
Yay!
Yay! We're finally free from this hell.
You know, Dirtfinder, looking at it in its glorious condition, I can't help but think we got ourselves a real money spinner here. Fill with fresh water, plop in a few carbons, sprinkle of nickels and dimes, and call it Muckingham Wish Station. This place will be paying for itself in no time. Much obliged.
That's basically what they do.
Alrighty, now for the official career. The subway platform.
Oh boy. Watching this goes a lot faster.
Yeah.
It will.
Yeah.
Especially since you guys are practically maxed out.
Yeah. Owing to the steady reputational rise of Buckingham, Caldera City Transportation Network excited to announce the reopening of its subway links to the vibrant town. We'd like you to deep clean the platform area ahead of the grand unveiling. Please note that while most of the graffiti at the facility could be said to possess artistic merit, we would like you to remove it all.
Ah.
I'll re-invite you back in, Chaos.
Got it.
You guys remember that time we did that old actress's house that was supposedly covered with Enochian symbols, but it turned out they were actually architectural plans?
Yeah.
No, that was funny.
Yep.
Oh, God!
I'm just left wondering, nobody ever thought to wash those off?
You would think. Anyway, while you freak out over that, I'll be right back. Just gotta take care of something real quick.
Yep.
Where are the drains in this place? This is gonna require a whole lot of water, like, basically, like, it's got a drain. Electrified at the moment.
Yeah, no, they're probably not electrified due to cleaning. Heh, angry car. Oh, look at that! We got a King Kong reference!
Really?
It's kind of painted the graffiti.
I can't see it.
Hang on. Let's see, none. And the 40 degree. Yeah, perhaps you like some interesting statistics on our railroad systems while you work. I wouldn't mind that at all. I like trains. There you go.
Monkey.
Yeah, look, there's people freaking out on a tower slide. And look, they boarded up the end of the train. And I stood on these without any problem. We're good. They probably only made sure that the electric is on for the lights. Oh, look at that! Their eyes up there. Someone's not very happy with the mayor.
Of course not. I mean, basically with the kind of stuff that he's pulled, would you be all that pleased with him?
Yeah. Look at this. He was
for-
made mayor back in '84. Catman Jefferson 12. Vote dirty, always lies.
Ladies and gentlemen, as your mayor for life, well, you gotta read those ballots, people.
Lizard kitty. Okay. Oh, it's this film for an Esther movie. Does it fart? Yeah, driving me nuts. Esther D. Ooh.
So that was her last name, Diaz.
Yep. Up, bound a gnome.
Already, huh?
Vote for mayor. Dirty.
So is that the explanation that this game is going with? The reason why this town is so dirty is because of the mayor?
The mayor made promises, but he didn't uphold on them. Let's also not forget we now currently have a smoking volcano.
I'm really wondering, like, what that is, because Blake Thrust, his drill, apparently people were saying that they were doing some kind of illegal mining excavation with that drill, and then the mayor suddenly splits town. And it has something to do with the town's water supply, so maybe they accidentally, like, flushed some water into the underground underneath the volcano, and it's causing a whole bunch of steam, which is creating pressure. And maybe that's why the volcano is going to explode.
Yeah. Aw, look at this. Someone made an alternate version of the movie poster. That's cute.
A little bit.
And someone made an Huh. Let's say someone's not
10.
0 out of 10. Don't bother, huh? Let's say someone's not happy with the funfair.
And after all that time that guy spent hyping up that Helter Skelter.
Yep. At least we prevented, like, a bunch of lawsuits. Wonder if there is a gnome hiding around here.
Well, if there is, you better find it before Chaos does. Speaking of such, where the heck is he?
He said he went to take care of something. Oh well. Anyway. Now that we got all that out of the way, might as well get started here. Also... Ha-ha! Gold! Hee I got the gold pro.
Put it to good use.
There we go. Yeah, I'm not going to bother with the posters just yet, not until Chaos gets back so he can see all the graffiti.
Uh-huh.
There we go. Yeah, last time I've been to a subway was like back over, I believe it was like I think it was like in Montreal.
I think the first time I ever even rode a subway was in Mexico.
No, wait, it was
here.
It was Toronto. Hi.
Hey. Sorry. We had to deal with something. You know how it is.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, by the way, look at the posters that's on the walls.
Well, I'm loaded in. It's taking a bit. I think it's because it's either good for when you're at the beginning or by the end.
Yeah.
Doesn't do too well with being in the middle.
I've only just barely started.
Yeah, she's at 1%. That
There
should
you
be
are.
an indication.
And yet...
Everything okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Just adjusting a couple things here and there.
There we go.
Alright.
Oh, I hear you spraying. Look at the posters.
Yep.
Some over here. My favorite is the one about voting Jeff Jefferson over here. Nobody's happy with him.
Lies.
Well, if I know the references that this game is making, or at least I hope I do, he's going to go out into the wilderness, he's probably going to get stranded on that boat of his, and he's going to starve to death.
Kind of want to talk political. I know certainly there's a brand new thing going along that I imagine is not going to be all too well received by Americans that it's impacting.
Oh no.
Yeah, from what I understand, Joe Biden made it his mission to fight against global warming by trying to get rid of people's air conditioning units.
Excuse me?
And this being one of the hottest summers that we've had on record. Have you basically also heard that with his plans to basically roll back some of the coal power plants that we have, it's actually basically, it could actually stand to overwhelm and completely crash the entire U.S. power grid.
Someone clearly did not pay attention to his science classes in high school.
I don't even think that Joe Biden can even. I don't think that he can even spell science nowadays. The worst part about it is basically like this whole just kind of you make the sacrifice so that we can maintain our standard of living, because all these elites that are basically like the rich people, this isn't going to affect them at all. They expect the plebs to make to make the cutbacks. They expect them to reduce their carbon footprint while they get to fly around on their private jets.
Yep.
Link, are you noticing chaos that like kind of being all stuttery on your end?
I'm noticing you've got like the wheels down in the corner of your screen.
Okay, now we're. Oh, jeez. Yeah,
Your internet is rebelling.
Come on, internet, come on. Well, this is what happens if I get started on a job and everything else. Jeez. You know, something almost similar happened to poor Chaos last week when he tried streaming 16.
Did you guys finish that, by the way?
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's a big
so I haven't
game.
missed it.
Yeah, it's a big game. And I still have the streams archived on YouTube, so...
Yeah, but it's not nearly as fun as watching it live.
Yeah.
True. Very true. You get to hear my F-ups in...
Real time.
in person, practically. Yeah, in real time.
And I get to criticize you for them.
Yep. I do recommend taking a look to at least see what the story is heading.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see. Yeah,
Of course, the greatest irony that I can think of right now is the whole strike that's going on with the actors and the writers for the Hollywood.
Yep. We've consistently had 15 years of putting out low quality, and we deserve to be paid more for it.
Yep. Yeah. Trying to make themselves sympathetic to the greater populace, despite the fact that they get paid. That in
get paid to
a
insult us.
singular. Yeah. Well, not just that, but like they get paid probably so much money that it's not even funny. Funny by comparison to us. Like they probably make more money in a singular day than we make in like 5 months.
Basically, yeah. I mean,
and not to mention, there's some like really ridiculous contracts, like Phoebe Waller-Bridge. For like she was apparently paid $20 million. You want to know for what, LT?
what?
for nothing. Nope, this wasn't even related to Indie. This was something with Netflix. They paid her that much money for something that she might do for them in the future, but she's under no congressional obligation.
You want to know what I basically learned this from watching videos about celebrities that try to stay out of the spotlight. Basically, an actor once said that if you spend 3 months working as an actor, you could spend 6 months not working. So he basically works 3 months basically like doing an acting gig to make enough money to where the next 6 months he can basically do whatever he wants. Like, he can pursue his other passions, his other hobbies and whatnot. Could you guys just basically imagine that?
Yeah, that's stuttering. You're stuttering. The stuttering. Okay, your stuttering is very concerned. The stuttering of you on my end is very. Oh wait, it's starting to smooth out a little. Oh, never mind.
Are you talking about Chaos's movements, or are you talking about my words?
Chaos's movements on my end.
Yeah. A little bit strange, but I'm still here on my end, and I'm still doing it.
Okay, look to my end. How am I doing in terms of, like, movement and cleaning? Look how I am. Is it smooth on your end?
Character might be a little bit fidgety, see when it comes to hitting certain corners, but otherwise you're fine to me.
Dang internet. Well, let's hope we can hold this out until we get this job done, and then afterwards I'm going to be resetting the Wi-Fi, because there were a couple of power cuts, like, pretty recently over the past week, so that's probably affecting the streams stuff.
Have you lost power at all throughout the week?
Like, briefly.
And what happens if basically, like, the internet completely craps out on this? Like, interrupts the stream?
Stream ends.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. We got the timetable. Oh, wow, it starts at, like, frickin' 5 and the last train's at frickin' 4?
Hey, the train's basically got to keep going, you know?
So we better move it or lose it.
But is that 4 p.m. or 4 a.m.?
4 a.m. I can tell. Because, look, see these ones in the middle here?
No, not really.
Okay, the ones that say 13, 15, 16, all that?
Uh-huh.
That's to go by the 24-hour clock.
Okay, military time, good.
Yep.
But yeah.
You're kidding.
But yeah,
me.
combining what you were saying earlier about the about an actor and combined with the whole page things is very interesting to see, especially since, as far as I'm aware, where the highly paid actors that are attaching themselves to the strike and whatnot.
Yep.
They have not brought up the possibility of lowering their own wages, so that way their constituents can be paid more.
Of course not.
I wonder how fast they
funny.
Yeah.
I got a name of all the stops for Buckingham Subway, and they're funny. We got Lubricity, Sprayers, Washingham, Baltimore, Pumpton, Detergento. Oh, this is a cute one. Spongely.
Spongely.
Well, now we know this. You know, Blemish again, Sparkleton, and Goria, along with Caldera City. I have a feeling this red one is related to the volcano.
I should hope so.
Sorry to interrupt you guys ranting about the whole strike and all.
It's fine. Of course, irony is the twofold. One, unlike other strikes, this isn't actually going to impact the American way of life.
It's really not. I mean, they're literally only just wasting their own time at this point. Mm-hmm. If anything, the average American citizen is literally so fed up with them and their ilk that, honestly, they want to see the entire thing fail. Like, it's not just Disney that's going down. They want most Americans want all of Hollywood to completely come crashing down because they've been in power for way too long. They've completely manipulated and hijacked the system. It's time for them to finally fall under their own weight and be replaced with something new.
Yeah. Everything that falls to corruption falls eventually.
Hup. Oh, so close.
And I just find that just so ironic because, like, well, what you were saying about how none of them have mentioned taking a pay cut so that their constituents can get more money. Did you honestly expect them to? This entire
of course not.
This entire thing has only ever been about them, what they can get for themselves. They act like a unified front because that's how they intimidate people, but in reality, you basically throw a quarter in between all these people, they're going to literally just start attacking each other for it. I mean, Eric July is basically saying that this strike could go on for so long and it's going to be so fruitless, they might have to resort to eating cat food.
Ew.
Yeah, the best part is, like, they chose, like, really the wrong time in order to do this, considering AI technology has been, being seen as a relatively decent option for most studios, given how far it's advanced.
And I think that, ironically, that's the reason why they started doing this. They're trying to basically, like, say, you can't replace us. And yet no one's calling them racist. Although I wonder, if someone were to plant some tiki torches around their protest and basically, like, make it seem like they had those torches, I really wonder.
Yeah, we'll see how far it goes. I know one of the main people for it, I forget the name of the actor, but he brought up how an idea of how unfortunate it would be if someone's $20 million home was ransacked and burned. Specifically referring to Bob Iger.
And I just find it so friggin' ironic. Like, friggin' Michael Eisner, he basically, like, was the guy who took over pretty much, like, when it seemed like... who was it? The guy who joined up with Spielberg to make DreamWorks. Anyway, whoever, I can't remember that guy's name, but whoever he was, he should have been put in charge of the Disney Corporation. Instead, they gave the job to Michael Eisner, and Eisner basically promoted the parks and everything. I'm pretty sure that he's the one that helped get Disney World, like, off the ground, like it was in a financial sink. So you might be able to debate that possibly he did a good job. But then, you can't necessarily say that he was perfect for the company because he ended up creating their biggest competition from the late 90s and early 2000s because of how salty the other guy was about not getting the job, that he went and founded DreamWorks. So you basically, like, can't necessarily say that was a good thing, but at least he didn't nearly do as much damage to the company as his successor would do, because Bob Iger, he was basically just interested in expanding the Empire's territory and basically acquiring as many intellectual properties as possible. You can literally read it in his memoirs that he said, the moment that I became president and CEO of Disney, there were two things that I knew I wanted the company to acquire for the company. One was Pixar, and the other was Lucasfilm. So, he basically had been, like, appointed the CEO sometime in the early 2000s. That just goes to show how long they were working on this long con. And the fact that basically, like... and the fact that they also acquired Marvel in the interim, I think sometime around 2008. So...
Yeah.
But that's really the problem when you end up spending money to buy these things on the hope that they'll make more money for you. Now, Marvel, they basically did well enough to where there was nothing to sneeze at, but the thing about it is, the investment that they put into Star Wars has not paid off. Literally, they've had control of Star Wars for the last 11 years now. They've been making new movies and new products since 2015, and they are still in the red. They're still in the negative on their investment because the money that they've put into making these products has sunk them further and further into debt to the point where whatever profits that the movie have made have not paid for that investment yet. This is the one situation where Star Wars literally isn't paying for itself. I mean, like, take this for example. When The Phantom Menace came out in 1999, LEGO acquired the rights to make Star Wars-themed LEGO sets, their first licensed IP, but the thing about it is, despite how successful Star Wars was and the popularity of the new movie, the LEGO Star Wars wasn't paying for itself fast enough. But it did eventually pay off, and now LEGO Star Wars is the biggest LEGO theme that there is. But here, in this situation, because the movies have been so lackluster, and because the production has been so brazen about what they think about the fan base and how little respect they have for them, the source material, and the characters that they're putting on screen, the fans have completely revolted. They no longer want any of the Star Wars merchandise. And you can... all you need to do is just ask Mel Brooks to let you know that's where the real money from the movie comes in. Literally the entire thesis statement around Spaceballs was about Star Wars merchandise.
Well, hello. By the way, hello, it's Spawn and Austin Lovely World. Thank you both for joining in.
Welcome.
Yeah, don't mind. This is basically the sum up of the streams here because we clean while we talk about various subjects.
We clean while we rant.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this just really goes to show how important it is to not insult your consumer base, and more importantly, to not expect that you can abandon one facet of consumers because you think that they're going to be replaced by a brand new generation and a brand new demographic of consumers that in reality doesn't actually exist. I mean, what was KK thinking when she said, we're not going to make a Star Wars theme park for 40-year-old white men when we can make a Star Wars theme park for a new generation? Those 40-year-old white men are literally your customers because the new people aren't invested in the junk Star Wars that you've made. You're literally basically... I mean, there's a Star Wars comic out there that's basically making fun of Jar Jar Binks while also basically kind of like criticizing George Lucas's marketing style, basically calling out that George Lucas created Star Wars to effectively go after whales. Whales being a term for a customer who spends a lot of money on a certain product. Like, say in Las Vegas, a whale is someone who goes to a casino and can spend upwards of $50,000 on gambling. In other forms of market, a whale is a toy collector. in this sense, like, the whole idea is that you make the toys, you promote the toys in the movie, and you get your dedicated fan base of whales to spend so much money on those toys that they basically will keep the machine running. Disney at one point understood this, considering the fact that they were so desperate to sell a brand new form of C-3PO toys that they literally colored C-3PO's arm red for one movie just to justify having a new toy of him. When in reality, fans were probably going to buy that toy anyway, at least until before they realized, hey, these new movies are garbage and the people who are making them hate us. So, don't insult your customers. Don't turn your back on them, and don't assume that you're always going to have, that you're going to be able to appeal to a brand new generation, because, well, let's face it, I think that basically, like, a lot of the points that some of these people are trying to make is that what appealed to a generation before isn't going to appeal to the generation of people nowadays. Isn't that why they're trying to rewrite history? So, yeah.
Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
Of course, the funny thing is, just add on to that is that is the misconception that the audience themselves would just be like you said, like 40-year-old white guys or whatever, when media was enjoyed by a whole bunch of people even beforehand.
Exactly. And I think, and on that topic, what irritates me the most is KK's assumption that Star Wars has only ever been kept by boys, that basically, like, it's an exclusively a guys-only thing, and girls were expected to stay out of Star Wars. And I'm just left thinking, there are, across the generations, there are female fans of Star Wars. It has never once been only this one thing. You want to know what it has been, though? For decades after Star Wars came out, it was still seen as a goofy, kids, silly thing that only appealed to geeks. That's the only gatekeeping that happened. The people who liked Star Wars were rejected. And then when Star Wars suddenly started making billions of dollars at the box office to the point where Bobby Iger realized, hey, I want a piece of that pie, that's when suddenly it started becoming more mainstream appeal. That's when they suddenly started making the argument. It's like, you literally excluded yourself from this thing, and now you're complaining that you excluded yourself from it.
You know, that beginning rant about, like, being Star Wars only being for boys?
Yeah.
I think my mom would love to have a few words of whoever, of this crazy woman, because she was a huge old school Star Wars fan, and even to this day, she still likes R2-D2.
My mother, when we went to see the prequel trilogies in theaters, she was scared of seeing what Episode 3 would bring, because she knew where Episode 3 was going to end. And when the movie has its climax and we see exactly how Anakin becomes Darth Vader, my mother was in tears. We had to keep passing her napkins just to try and, like, keep her calmed down, because it's a tragedy. She basically, like, knew what Anakin was going to become in these movies, but when we start, we see this innocent young boy from Tatooine. We see him fall in love, we see him experience hardship, we see him go through all this stuff only to end up like that. And so, and of course, my older sisters, they both really love Star Wars, and they basically agreed with me. When we left the theater after seeing The Last Jedi, I literally just looked at them and said, did you guys see what I saw in that movie? So they were both, and they were like, yeah, it wasn't good. To this day, at least one of my sisters has not seen the 9th Star Wars movie. And the only reason that I saw it was because my father was in town, he wanted to see it, and he offered to pay for it. So to this day, I still haven't given actual money to Lucasfilm for a Star Wars movie since The Force Awakens. Because every other time I saw any of their movies, I wasn't the one paying. I saw them for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, gift cards. But the point is that, like, I love it. I love the fact that my sisters can recognize that these movies are not good, and what they did with the characters is just not good. And I honestly feel vindicated because I really wasn't going to go see any movies past The Force Awakens, because The Force Awakens bothered me that much, because it took so many people so long to finally see what I saw, and it took like the people who made the movie flat out insulting the customers on social media platforms like Twitter or YouTube or anything like that to finally get people to start waking up. But me, I knew what they were doing from the get-go, and it all has to do with a little character by the name of Kylo Ren. Literally speaking, when this character... There's one point in this movie where this character does something where I realized exactly what Disney was doing with this character. Meanwhile, everybody else is saying this character is the best form of Anakin Skywalker. He's a more believable version that actually works. He's torn between the light and the dark side. And it's like, what movie were you guys watching? This guy felt absolutely no pull to the light, whatever.
Young Canny Fanny, hi there. I was wondering, I would ask if you would clean my caravan, but I already know what your answer is. And Baryonyx, Caldera City subway system was built using over 16 million bricks. Okay.
And through the power of alchemy, we turned some of those bricks into iron.
If you were to pile them... Oh, jeez. If you were to pile them up top to tall, they would extend a staggering 2,137 miles through the Earth's atmosphere. That's only a tantalizing 236,718 miles short of the moon's surface. Dang.
Wow.
But yeah, you have every right to basically tell these people, indirectly speaking, told you so, the movies were bad.
Basically. And here's the scene that I'm talking about. Now, when Kylo Ren is introduced in the movie, you think that he's going to be intimidating. You think that this guy is our new Darth Vader. And I gotta admit, he does one cool thing in the movie, and that is when he uses the Force to stop a blaster bolt mid-air. I gotta admit, that was pretty cool. But
only time he does something like that.
Only time he does something like that. But the point where you realize that this character isn't going to be the intimidating wow factor villain that he's been built up is the moment that he starts speaking. Because you could basically tell, like, the voice modulator for his mask, it doesn't make him sound anything intimidating like Darth Vader. It just makes him sound... Well, I think I'll get to that. We finally see him without his mask, and instead of being physically deformed or scarred or burned like Darth Vader was, he's just this pasty, pale, white kid. And you basically think, okay, this guy is literally just wearing the mask because he wants to wear the mask. And earlier in the film, when the First Order, Imperials, whatever, when his underlings basically tell them that the droid got away and they weren't able to recover it, he ends up igniting his lightsaber and throwing a temper tantrum, destroying a control panel. And that is the moment that I basically threw up my hands with realization as to what Disney was doing. Kylo Ren is literally them making a commentary on what they think of Star Wars fans. He's nothing more than a caricature of how they view the people who buy their products. That we're all nothing more than just pasty, pale-faced, white kids who dress up like Darth Vader thinking that it makes us look tough, despite the fact that we're willing to buy all this merchandise, stand in lines wrapping around the movie theater, even camping out outside a movie theater just to see these movies on opening night in costume. That is what they were doing with this character.
Wow!
And I honestly don't get how I was the only one to come to that conclusion for years. It's like, this kid literally dresses up like Darth Vader and acts tough despite the fact that he's nothing like Vader, and he throws temper tantrums with his lightsaber. Doesn't that sound familiar? Don't you basically have known someone in life that's done something like that?
Of course, a funny thing, just going back into it off of that little portion, I never really understood why people said like he had a believable tint towards light and dark. Yeah, sure, he's said it, but he certainly didn't show it in his actions.
Exactly. It's like...
Actions speak louder than words. As far as I'm concerned, the whole, being pulled towards the light whatnot was just an excuse to get his father close enough to stab him.
Exactly, and that's the only thing that I can see that as. He basically just kind of lured Han in so that he could basically kill him. I mean, I find it just really kind of irritating, the fact that he basically shows next to no hesitation in killing Han, and yet, when he gets the opportunity to kill Leia in the next movie, suddenly he hesitates, and suddenly all the things that they were talking about him having in the last movie are suddenly on display in this one instead of just talked about. It's like, okay, so maybe we have a director who actually knows what they're doing with this, but then we remember this movie was directed by Rian Johnson.
Oh yeah, then that movie developed a lot of problems, like impromptu forced, the war is being funded by the weapon manufacturers and whatnot. Which,
you know, the sad thing is, they could actually do something interesting with that. It skirts a little too close to real-world politics for my liking, but it is something that they could have explored. You want to know why I know is because part of the Clone Wars had to do with stuff like that, because part of the Clone Wars, the reason that the Kaminoans were developing the clone army was because the Republic, Palpatine, was promising them great sums of cash in return for the clone army, which he never ended up paying. And you see, that's basically kind of like the thing. It's the fact that Palpatine was basically manipulating all of these groups, these warmongering groups, into destroying each other so that he could basically take over in the power vacuum by basically creating an empire that would make people feel safe from people like this. So in a lot of ways, it feels like Star Wars already did something like that. It's just that the movies didn't highlight it. But if they wanted to do something like this, then they probably could have. The problem is that, like, in the current... in the future, in the sequel trilogy, it just doesn't make any sense, because in the future trilogy, they're still using X-Wings and ships like that, despite the fact that by the time of the Galactic Civil War in the original trilogy, X-Wings, Y-Wings, A-Wings, they were all largely decommissioned at the time. The reason that the Rebels had them was because they needed to use anything they could get their hands on. So basically they had to find the remains of these ships and slapdash them together in any way to get them flyable. So why is it that in the sequel trilogy they're basically selling these things like they're brand new or something?
New model?
I should hope so, but you would think that they would have completely different designs by now.
Well, let's be fair here. That is, the design is the one that took out the Death Star, something that destroyed Alderaan, so utilizing that would make a great marketing sense. Heck, you probably say, like, oh yeah, this has the same specs but updated of the same one that destroyed the Death Star without going into too much detail on it. But the real crime is that bomb ship that they end up using at the beginning of Last Jedi.
Yep. I mean, I just the only way that it could be explained is that Rian Johnson literally had to come out and say it, that he doesn't care about Star Wars lore or continuity. He, in fact, doesn't care about the Star Wars franchise. He even flat out admitted that he hated Star Wars, and the only reason that he took this job was because it was Disney who was going to pay him to do it.
Okay! Okay, alrighty. Yeah, nope. I'm gonna go on a bit of my own little rant here. Because this feels a little like something similar to happen with the freaking Monster Hunter movie!
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the freaking director from there, Paul W.S. Anderson, didn't care for, like, the actual source material he was directing the film for. No. He pulled the same junk with this film as he did with the Resident Evil films. And that is basically make his own fan fiction so that he can have his wife. Show off his wife. Yes.
Yep. I mean, no offense to Mila Jovovich, but sometimes she just has to say no.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Yeah, because he skewed up the nature of the Rathalos, making them unusually large. He didn't even, like, use the concept of the frenzy virus that the frickin' Gormagala did. And on top of all that, he went for this same dumb trope of a military group going to one dimension, and the monsters coming to the real world. Oh, and let's not get me started on, like, how he had the weapons designed and everything. They were just so skewed and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Because, and he's wondering why that movie bombed in the box office.
It's almost like the people that you're depending on to see the movie actually care about about where the movie is coming from.
Yep. Yeah. And on top of all, and the best part is, once Capcom realized what went wrong, they turned around and asked for someone to make this CGI movie that shows the backstory to one of the characters in the series. Wow. And it did better. And it was on Netflix.
Which we still have to have you see, considering I've seen it and I love that movie a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it like grade A best movie of all time? I wouldn't say so. But as a Monster Hunter fan, I enjoy it immensely, especially since I know all the characters involved.
Exactly, and on top of, so yeah, my main point is that if a movie director doesn't care about the source material and makes that kind of junk between both the Monster Hunter movie and the future trilogy of the Star Wars films, they shouldn't be rehired at all to film another film like that.
Basically.
Of course, funny enough, that's been somewhat of a recurring trend in some places, because I do believe it's on record by another writer that in the writer's room for the Netflix's The Witcher, they actively insulted the source material there.
Yep. And now they're blaming fans for the show not succeeding anymore.
Yeah, no, this is one of those times when you guys should actually man up and say you goofed. But
They'll never do that.
But no, these people are so full of themselves. They said, no, we didn't goof. You guys are idiots. To the fans. Which is an even bigger insult.
Yep.
But nope, they will literally never admit that they screwed up, because basically working in Hollywood and having a major screw up, it's basically like when you get pulled over by the police or if you're in a car accident. As soon as basically you admit to any kind of fault or whatever, they will literally throw the book at you. So your career would basically be over. I mean, speaking of our good old friend Ryan Roundhead Johnson, basically, like, Disney for years has been teasing us with the idea that Ryan Johnson is going to have his own trilogy of Star Wars movies to direct, and yet every single time it gets brought up, it keeps getting delayed, further and further and further back, to the point where we basically have to we're all basically confident that it's never going to happen. And considering what's currently happening at Lucasfilm, I think that we can all rest assured that Johnson-less is never going to touch this franchise ever again. Because there's been it's not even a major shakeup, it's more like an earthquake going on at Lucasfilm. Get yourselves strapped in for this, because it's basically the hammer is finally coming down. So, as we all basically know from previous streams, Bob Iger basically called Kennedy into his office and gave her an ultimatum. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny better make $900 million at the box office, or it's over. However, the thing about it is that they've actually wanted to get rid of Kathleen for a long time, but it's only ever just come out now why they couldn't get rid of her. You guys are probably going to be irritated about this, because I was certainly irritated about it.
She got into someone's pants, didn't she?
Not quite.
No, not quite. Because you see, the problem with someone like Kathleen is that after years, after decades of working with someone, naturally someone would come under the assumption that you could actually trust that person. And unfortunately, her first victim was George Lucas. Now, when Lucas basically was signing over Lucasfilm to Disney, he did so with the intent that Kathleen Kennedy would basically work his interests into running Lucasfilm, but have Disney's resources in order to get things done. George was actually under the impression that they were going to make his version of the sequel trilogy. Instead, and he actually ended up stipulating what Kathleen Kennedy's contract would include, which included a no-cause clause. As in, basically, no matter what Kathleen Kennedy did while working at Lucasfilm, they could not fire her.
Oh, you gotta be flipping kidding me.
Yep. He did this because he thought that Kathleen was going to work as his agent, which would allow him to basically kind of get the movies that he wanted still made at Lucasfilm, without him necessarily having to be in charge. Instead, Kathleen just basically turned her back on him, saying, "You just signed over your kingdom to me, and I no longer need you, old man." So, for the last 10 years or so, she has basically been rubbing it in George's face that she has basically stolen everything that he worked so hard to create. And she has been sitting on her laurels ever since. Now that pisses you off. That pisses me off too. But here's where the light shines in the darkness, because having a clause in your contract that says that you can't fire an employee for basically anything, having no cause, you can't basically fire an employee, that doesn't necessarily sound like a good idea, because even that has to have limits. And Disney certainly has its limits. Standard with all employees that basically come to work under the Disney brand, they're underneath some kind of clause, some kind of section of their contract that basically says they have to help maintain Disney's public image. And if they damage the public image, the public brand of Disney, that is grounds for suspension. Now, we could definitely say that Kathleen has certainly had her hand in that particular cookie jar, but Disney hasn't had the brass to actually get rid of her. And here is where the next part comes in. Effectively speaking, Disney has it in their contracts, including Kathleen's, that they can dismiss anyone if proof of illegal activity is found. What basically, if they can basically prove that this person was doing illegal activities while under contract with them. And here is where the ground starts shaking, because you see, ever since it was basically confirmed that Dial of Destiny wasn't going to make $900 million at the box office, Bob Iger has basically swept in with 5 agents that are now taking control of Lucasfilm. These people have become colloquially known as the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. I don't necessarily know who they are, but they're part of Disney's legal team. And they are not only taking control of Lucasfilm and basically kind of shutting down productions on all major projects, they are there to conduct an investigation as to what Kathleen and her underlings have been doing there. And it's basically been stated on no uncertain terms that they're actually going to make life very difficult for all the employees that are loyal to Kathleen until they eventually decide to quit. Now, what about Kathleen Kennedy herself? Well, it seems that basically, coincidentally, she has been given some kind of paid time off. She has gone on some kind of vacation that coincidentally is going to last right up until the end of her contract. And apparently, there's been no news about her wanting to renew her contract with Disney or at Lucasfilm. Now, this seems to be awfully conveniently timed, considering that, as it turns out, she's not necessarily on vacation. She's actually barred from entering Disney premises, which includes Lucasfilm. She's apparently not allowed to set foot in the studio until the investigation is finished because they don't want her tampering with the evidence. And so, this basically goes back to her having her Lucasfilm email address completely revoked and shut down. So basically, we pretty much at this point are convinced that she's low-key been fired, since there's no word about her renewing her contract. She's not even allowed to set foot on the premises. There's an investigation underway investigating how she's been managing Lucasfilm, and most importantly, the fact that she was given paid time off. She chose to take her vacation days right now when her biggest box office failure was on the line. There was no way she'd willingly want to be out of the office for any of this. She would want to be at Lucasfilm trying to do damage control, trying to basically get in front of the press, in front of the camera. So far, she has been silent on all of it. And so,
in other words, she's been a bad girl and has been severely grounded.
Oh, I think that it's going to be a whole lot worse than that, because like I said, the contract basically stipulates that they can dismiss her if criminal activity has been discovered. Now, basically for the last, I'd say half a year or so, people have been examining the budgets in Lucasfilm's books, and they're starting to realize that certain monies are not adding up. The numbers aren't adding up, and certain monies aren't where they're supposed to be. And it seems like Kathleen Kennedy is basically funneling a whole lot of money into certain projects like The Acolyte, which basically people are convinced is never actually going to happen. I can't necessarily remember the number, but I think it's somewhere close to $250 million at this point. The Acolyte basically could be rivaling Amazon's Lord of the Rings as one of the most expensive streaming shows ever created, and yet the show hasn't even gone into production yet. So where is all that money, and where is it going? Basically, leaked from spies inside Lucasfilm that are basically like observing the Horsemen as they're going around examining the books and looking for evidence. It seems to be a strong possibility that Kathleen was actually funneling some of this money to her underlings for them to basically use however they wanted. Basically giving out company credit cards, which were supposed to be for business expenses, for them to do things like take expensive vacations, or basically go on personal shopping sprees.
In other words, embezzlement.
Yes. Effectively speaking, Kathleen pretty much was a corrupt ruler who was treating Lucasfilm as her own empire, and the budget that Disney was basically pouring into that as her own personal piggy bank. So yeah, the people who destroyed Luke Skywalker, who destroyed Han Solo, Princess Leia, Indiana Jones, all of that misery and suffering that they sowed, just so that the people who were in charge of it could finally feel like they were important. Because, I mean, I just don't get it. Kathleen was already one of the richest and most powerful women in Hollywood, and it just wasn't enough for her.
This is what happens when you get too greedy.
Pretty much. So, needless to say, all of this has got everybody very excited, because if all of this can be proven, then you basically got her to the wall. Not only has she screwed up on Indiana Jones, not only is she banned from the premises, her email has been revoked, but if they could nail her on this embezzlement, it will be the end for her. She literally should have taken the Viking funeral that they had planned for her back in May for Star Wars Celebration, but she didn't. Instead, she doubled down on doing everything that was going to piss fans off, from promising new Star Wars movies starring Rey and Finn and all the sequel trilogy characters that you love. And the Acolyte, instead of anything that people might actually want. Nope. Instead, it was literally all just a smokescreen so that she could continue to embezzle money out of the company as much as she could, as fast as possible. And I don't know what she was planning to do. Just basically keep control of the company for so long that they wouldn't basically think to take a look at the numbers? So yeah, it's literally gotten so bad. Disney is so far in the red when it comes to Star Wars that considering the kind of trouble that Disney is currently in, with the fact that they might have to start selling the theme parks, yeah, go to Disney World while you can, all you people down in Florida. There's a chance that Universal might end up buying the lot. It's gotten to the point where Disney might actually consider selling Lucasfilm. And the best part about it is, well, the second best part. Here's the second best part first. One of the people who has the most potential to buy Lucasfilm, who better than George Lucas himself? He certainly has enough.
Yeah, get your own company back there, Georgie.
Yep, he certainly has the finances for it, and I think that after what she did, I think that this is only going to spurn George on to try and fix the damage that she's done. And here's the best part. Because of the last 11 years of what has happened to the brand, Star Wars, Lucasfilm itself has been so devalued that Disney might be forced to sell it back at a fraction of what they paid for it. They paid $4 billion to George, which he promptly gave to charity. Good on him. But it's been damaged so badly that we might not even be looking at 1/4 of the price. We might even be looking somewhere close to maybe 1/8 of the price. Can you guys imagine how huge that would be?
Very.
Mm-hmm.
Not only will he be like getting it for a lot cheaper, but he'll have enough money back in order to fix the mess that she left behind and do better.
Yep, because I guarantee it. Like, by the time when it was first announced 11 years ago, when Disney bought Star Wars, the fans were in such a bad place with George Lucas that they basically thought that there's no way he could make the franchise worse, because this was basically around the time that maybe the Clone Wars hadn't gotten as much traction. No, the fact is he was running low on goodwill, and yet in the last 11 years, now that we've had examples of how bad Star Wars can actually get, people are looking back on episodes 1, 2, and 3, and they're starting to cut them and George a great deal of slack, because the movies actually aren't that bad. They might not be as good as the original trilogy, but for Star Wars movies, they are certainly a far cry from being horrible. And they've only grown in appreciation because of their meme status. Like, right now, basically, the prequels are experiencing an all-time high in popularity, and with how bad Star Wars has become, people are literally begging George to come back.
Yeah, anyway, sorry to interrupt, but Barry's talking. Construction on the Buckingham to Caldera City branch line in 1920, funded by local businessman Wilbur Struss, who was keen to provide an efficient means of transporting his workforce from the city to his thriving cattle ranches. And let's see here, where are you? It was finally, and it was finally unveiled by Mayor Jeff Jefferson X, who tragically passed away on the self-same day from the incident related to the station's substandard construction. Ooh.
Ouch.
Seems like good Mayor Jeff Jefferson X got crushed. Or was injured.
Well, I guess you could say he had a pressing engagement.
Oh, for God's sake, Link!
What? I couldn't handle the pressure.
Well,
that was an incredible burden on my shoulders.
Well, I guess you could say that with the difficulty he faced, he should have trained up a bit more.
There's the puns.
But man, after all that hard work, he just was absolutely buried.
Well, we can only assume at this point until Baryonyx sends me another message. Anyways, but
watch as it turns out he died of old age comfortably on the train. It was so comfortable he ended up dying somehow.
Yeah.
People have died of weirder things.
I mean, that can sometimes happen. Maybe basically after like all that work and finally seeing it come to fruition, he just sat down in a chair, nodded off, and never came back. But yeah, the whole point about it is that with people have been clamoring for George to come back. The fact that he was even allowed to consult on The Mandalorian shows that probably is a testament to why the quality of that show used to be so good until Kennedy decided, you know what, I don't want you mucking around in my mud anymore. But anyway, and the fact that the treatments, the plans that he had for episodes 7, 8, and 9 have been revealed, and fans universally agree that those plans were a whole lot better than what Disney and what Kathleen Kennedy had basically done, that they want that version of the story to be told. Yeah. I feel like if George were to buy Lucasfilm back and get all those people back to work that he tried to basically save, he tried to save their jobs all those years ago, I feel like fans would respond. I feel like if we knew that it was George who had his hand on the helm again, Star Wars back in the news, back in the movie theaters, fans would go.
I would go.
Especially because at this point, it's not even just the fact that it's George doing it, it's also a personal matter. It's the fact that we want to see the mistakes corrected. We want to see the brand get fixed after all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
sense of fulfillment. So what were the plans that or the things that he had? I don't think I've actually seen those myself.
The truth is, I actually haven't had the time to go through all of them, but it was going to be about how Luke had his own sort of Jedi Academy and his own Jedi Order. The reason that I haven't gone into them is, well, twofold. One of them is because I want to have a clear mind for my own ideas when I basically do YouTube videos on my channel talking about how I would have done 7, 8, and 9, kind of like how Belated Media basically did their videos. What if episodes 1, 2, and 3 were good? I basically want to do like videos like that, basically talking about how if I were basically working at Lucasfilm at the time and I was like a story creator, here's basically what I would have put forth. So I want to have a clear head. I want my own ideas in there and not just basically copy off what Lucas would have done, because I feel like I've got some ideas that would have ultimately worked out. The other reason is because I sort of know what the original sequel trilogy was originally supposed to be, and when I say originally, I'm talking about going as far back as 1983, when George had had everything planned out, because basically, like, he had this idea about what the sequel trilogy was going to be, and he ended up basically changing those ideas because I think of the falling out with the film's producer. Who was the guy that produced the Star Wars movies alongside George Lucas? Who was
Well, either way, no matter what, that the whole like Jedi Order Academy idea, that definitely sounds 10 times better than whatever bull hockey that came out now.
Especially considering when you realize what Kathleen Kennedy was saying she was going to do with the new Rey movie that she's going to make. Apparently Rey is starting her own Jedi Academy, and she's supposed to bring the Jedi Order back and finally restore the Jedi to the galaxy. Yeah,
this is like the third time I dropped my controller because of all the stupidity.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's literally all the evidence that you need. People basically aren't convinced that these female characters are literally written and created to replace their male counterparts. Rey is literally being brought in to literally do what Luke was supposed to do, but because the writers have an agenda to push, they suddenly decided that he failed to do it. And it's not only that, she takes his lightsaber, she takes his spaceship, she takes his friggin' family home, and she even takes his last name. So, this woman literally steals every single facet of his legacy. And why? Because she's literally nothing more than Kathleen Kennedy's self-insert fanfiction avatar.
Who has a thing for Kylo Ren, ironically enough.
I mean, I think that's basically the main reason why Adam Driver was cast in that role, because, like, she basically is desperate to see him without a shirt on.
Excuse me?
Yeah, in The Last Jedi, there was a scene where they had... Yeah, where they came up with some BS Force thing, being able to literally see what was going on in the other person's face, and they had it between Kylo and Rey gets to see him without his shirt on, for some reason.
Oh my freaking god. Oh
my
freaking god. Oh my flipping god. She's worse than the worst fans on Tumblr.
I mean, I gotta admit, How It Should Have Ended basically did like a really good parody of that scene where instead of just catching him with his shirt on, she actually caught him while he was on the toilet.
Now that sounds good.
Oh, that sounds funny.
But, yeah, no. She totally deserves the boot. A boot to the head.
A boot to the head. And one more for Molly on the whip. But one of the hardest parts about all this is the fact that Kathleen might be the head of a snake, but there are still other snakes inside Lucasfilm, because the entire reason that George sold Lucasfilm to Disney was because he realized that he was getting old. He didn't necessarily want to keep making movies, but he had 20,000 people who were working for him, probably even more. So if basically he didn't do something fast, so these people were going to be out of a job, and he wouldn't want that. So he basically sold Lucasfilm to Disney so that these people could actually be put to work and actually keep their jobs. He put Kennedy in charge because he thought that she would be a friend and actually basically run things the way he wanted them to be run, and hopefully basically keep these people's jobs. Instead, she gets in charge. She ends up firing most of those people anyway and replacing them with people who are exclusively loyal to her. Yep. For years, the company has basically just been infected with people who toe the line, as it were, who appreciate the message, as it were, and people who hate Luke Skywalker just as much as Kathleen does. I mean, seriously, the rumors have confirmed to be true. The fact that the horsemen of the apocalypse are going around the offices, seeing people's cubicles, seeing the little pictures of Luke Skywalker with his face X'd out by red markers and whatnot. It's all true. Literally speaking, they said we were crazy. They said that we were lying, but it's all friggin' true. So
I've seen the pictures. That is true. It's like, oh my god.
So, a big fear that people were having is that even if we get rid of Kathleen Kennedy, we're just going to end up with someone who's just like her, if not worse, because all of her minions, they'll literally leap at the chance to take her place and make sure that her will keeps getting done. And that's why Iger is basically doing what he's doing at Lucasfilm, which ironically sounds like he's literally just making sure that these people actually do their jobs, considering that Kathleen was using the place as a means of getting expensive vacations and shopping sprees. Having to actually do your job seems just morbid to these people. It's a horrible idea. So of course they're gonna try and quit. So he's basically trying to weed out the garden.
Good on him.
Yep. But yeah, I just really wonder what everything would have been like had the trajectory of Star Wars completely changed back in the 1980s, because Lucas had this idea when he decided to make everything into a family drama by making Darth Vader into Luke's father. He basically had an idea of where the story could go next. The original trilogy was about Luke basically becoming a Jedi and basically saving the galaxy and redeeming his father. The sequel trilogy was supposed to be about Luke finding his long-lost sister, because originally she wasn't Leia. Yep. Originally, the original plan that George had for Luke Skywalker was that his sister was actually somewhere off in the farthest parts of the galaxy, completely removed from all these events, and she was actually named Nelith instead of it being Leia, and that the whole idea of finding her was that he had to find her before she gets tempted to fall to the dark side, and there's a good chance that she could have fell to the dark side. So, but after basically the falling out, George basically decided that maybe it's best that we just leave Star Wars where it is right now. I'm gonna go do some work with Spielberg. He has something called Indiana Jones that he wants us to work on. And then somewhere around the 90s, George got the idea, maybe it's time to do a prequel trilogy explaining how Anakin became Darth Vader. So
Yep.
Still, it's sad how far that it went.
Yep.
Before finally someone decided someone goofed and we need to do something about it.
It just honestly, it's just unfathomable at some point. The fact that basically that they let it go on for as long as they did. It's like it finally got them to friggin' pay attention to how much money that they were losing and could stand to potentially keep losing unless they finally got this ship under control. They finally course corrected.
Yep. Ah. Thank yeah, it took them a lot longer than Capcom did. Capcom figured out after what happened with the Monster Hunter movie that this guy was no longer a trustworthy that Anderson was no longer a trustworthy director for their franchise films, and decided to take matters in their own hands. I hope they don't hire him again for the next Monster Hunter movie. I hope they go with someone else. Someone else.
I'd be surprised if there is another Monster Hunter movie.
We'll see. As far as I'm aware, Anderson still has the rights for the Capcom-based movies. That's how it started off.
Yeah,
why haven't they taken away the cookie jar from him yet?
Because these contracts last 7 years.
And legalese, and the Resident Evil movies did good.
Keep him with Resident Evil, but if he dare touches Monster Hunter again, I am going to rant.
Yeah. Honestly, from what I know of Resident Evil, it's, well, there's a reason why we say that he pretty much did the same thing, because it pretty much had its own little custom protagonist. Well, not custom, but had its own protagonist and change up the world to be quite different from how any of the games would display it. Especially with it pretty much becoming post-apocalyptic, which as bad as things can get in individual games, for the most part, the world was as a whole still ended up being fine.
Yeah.
Which I guess one could say that adds a bit of differences, so not too bad. But hey, to be fair, it's not the worst adaptation of Resident Evil. My understanding, that honor goes to Netflix.
Huh. Ironic.
Yep.
So Netflix had a better adaptation of a Monster Hunter movie because the original director had a terrible crack at it, and yet Netflix did a terrible adaptation of Resident Evil, though the director had a better crack at it.
Well, to be honest, I believe, just going back to it, if I remember correctly, I think Legends of the Guild was always something they had, like, in, like, production in an anime thing, and they released it on Netflix. I don't think it was specifically caused by what happened with the live-action movie. They certainly don't trust in it anymore, because I think they actually straight up got rid of the quests that you could have done originally to unlock the set and whatnot.
Thank God, because I hated that.
But yeah, I think that it's always better to just like produce things in-house and let Netflix distribute it, because when it comes to Netflix adapting things, I wouldn't trust them to adapt anything.
You know, now that I think about it, the reason why I thought that, because they released it at good timing after the original movie, you know, bombed.
Yep.
So it was a case of good timing.
Definitely. Yep. But there's no way they could have just slapdashed it together. That would have been too quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But Netflix has definitely had its share of bombing adaptations, so I definitely wouldn't trust them to be able to adapt anything properly. I mean, we don't even have to go far. We were literally already talking about The Witcher, but I basically need to bring up Death Note.
Yeah.
We do not talk about death! No!
All right, how about Cowboy Bebop?
No!
Castlevania?
Well,
Castlevania is actually one of the better ones.
I don't even think that it's made by Netflix. I think that's
No.
one of the in-house things that Netflix is just distributing.
No, I hope that's the case. Granted, I do see a couple of flaws with it as a whole. I don't think it's a flawless thing, but at the very least, it's still a fun thing. I just think that there's a couple of things that I find just kind of funny, because season 1 was all nice and together. Then for the B plot, effectively while the heroes are going around learning about things and whatnot, the villains are talking about their evil plans and how Camilla, one of the bad guys, effectively wanting to betray Dracula and take over as the new vampire ruler. And due to machinations of the Balmonts and whatnot, her whole plan both backfired and worked successfully. It backfired because she lost both of her loyal subordinates, and if it weren't for but because, you know, Dracula meets his chronological fate of being killed by the good guys, she technically gets to walk away and win. And for a season, gets to try to build herself up as a potential big bad to replace Dracula. Only in the next season for someone else to take the limelight of the big bad that determines a lot more worldly thing, and her forces, well, they have a chance to show off or whatnot, get taken out by another character who had a really good arc, all things considered.
And that is...
a character named Isaac. A character that, they changed the, who used to be from, one of the games, and he was actually the antagonist of that, and the other character, Hector, was the main character, where pretty much Hector goes to fight Dracula, while Isaac was working for Dracula. Here they both end up working for him, but Hector ends up being disillusioned, while Isaac is the loyalist through and through. In fact, one of the last bits of humane things that Dracula does, because both of them were human servants, is that Isaac was willing to sacrifice his life for Dracula, being only the one few people who actually cared about him and his world. That Dracula was like, you know what, man? I want you to live. I may die, but you get to live. Mm-hmm. And teleported him out of there. Which was a very interesting moment. And then, because to go into detail about what he was, because, you know, I don't need to describe the Belmonts, they're vampire hunters. I don't need to describe Alucard. He's one of the more famous characters that is not a Belmont, or at least not usually, depending on the media we're talking about. And, forget her name off the top of my head. Crap. Oh, well. The mage companion, you know, while her name escapes me, she's a spellcaster who shows what happens when you have magic take a very potent edge, as well as you know, a cultural thing. Like, I want to do it justice, but sadly my memory is just being very selective with me right now. I think I might know the right name, but I don't want to butcher the right name, you know?
Yep.
She's the same person as she was in the actual video game, so I think they just
that was like the third Castlevania game, right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. Let's see here.
Yeah, I think they eventually added in like the fourth member of that gang, although they did do a gender swap or whatnot, which...
Siva Belnades.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Shiva. Shiva. Yeah, I just didn't want to say, like, Sylph or Shiva or whatnot. I think that was the names that were coming to mind, but I knew they weren't correct.
Yeah,
That's
no.
really like where a name comes to mind when you think of something, but you know it's not that, but for the life of you, you just can't remember what the actual one is. I have that a lot. I'm not sure why. I came up with a few guesses, though. But anyway. Okay. So, Isaac and Hector were both people who were forge masters, I think the right term, were pretty much they created night creatures, which were the monsters that you have to deal with in the Castlevania games and whatnot. I'm not sure if that's how they were always, or at least if that applies to Hector back in his original game, but I do think it's not a wholly alien concept. Yep. So, through the power of dark magic and the Tainted Forge, they turn human corpses into monsters who are loyal to their Forge Master. And what makes this interesting is that it's a magic that can only be used by the living, aka vampires can't do it. So they require mortal service, which I think is a very interesting little dilemma for the forces of evil. So where they need both dead bodies and a few living bodies to be able to actually create their armies. And even then, they can't be too cruel to their human allies. Otherwise, the armies will just flip allegiances.
Sounds complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, very.
Yep. But to go on to a little bit more about that, to sum up the situation, because they both can be described as both end up working for Dracula for season 2, and Hector gets convinced by Camilla to pretty much betray him despite friendship, because he's clearly going a bit bananas, because Hector doesn't want to kill all humans. He just wants to put them in a kennel because he finds humans to just be very destructive.
Okay, the subway was reopened again following extensive repointing in 1923 by Mayor Jeff Jefferson the 11th. It closed again the following fall after the shocking revelation that Wilberforce Thrust has been using it to funnel trucks full of stolen money out of town. The money was never recovered. Going back to the whole bank thing back from the Hansel and Gretel job.
Yeah, what do you know? So yeah, back to what I was saying before I forget. Not that I don't mind the interruption to talk about what's going on in the game lore. Oh Lord. But Isaac, however, he stays true to his guns and stays loyal to Dracula. The moment there's actually this, I forget his name. I forget like his ethnicity, where he's from or whatnot. I think he's a Viking. Maybe. He called Godbrand, and he talks about how much superior he is. And how Dracula might be going a little bit loony. So Isaac kills him. Because fun fact, you know what's really good for killing vampires that a smith might be able to utilize also?
Holy water? The
Steak.
sun? Oh, steaks. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Which shows that he's a badass that would be on par with the Belmont when it comes to killing vampires. Unfortunately, at the time, he was probably the most dedicated to the idea of human genocide and whatnot. Because when he was younger, he was actually a let's just say that the relationship he had with his captain, or not his captor, was something that the YouTube algorithm wouldn't like it if we brought up, if I recall my words correctly.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, and he brought up that he loved him despite all of that, and the captain was like, "Oh, that's cute. Let me show you my love," and kept whipping him. And so with this in my mind, especially in because whatever it was, he definitely was at least hoping for mercy, whatever the situation that got him in trouble was. I can't remember off the top of my head. It has been a while. So he responded with, gorging the eyes of the guy and killing him, and pretty much running off. But yeah, you can understand why he may not have the highest opinion of humanity.
Yeah.
But what also makes it interesting is that he does actually go through a bit of a character arc, because he's trying to go avenge Dracula. And at the moment, but he's only aware of Camilla's betrayal. He actually isn't even aware of the Belmonts, which makes it all the more ironic. Like, but hey, it all works out in the end, man, as far as I care. And he goes through, quest, killing off whoever tries to mess with him, and, turning their bodies into night creatures. But some of the night creatures and people he actually meets on his journey, like a boat captain who was willing to ferry him across, he actually gets to know and learn more about people in the world, because, like I mentioned before, he otherwise just stayed isolated with the only other friend he had was Dracula and his fellow Forge Master. So much so is that when he goes after Camilla, he doesn't care about the idea of resurrecting Dracula, despite that being a initial impulse to want to do along with the vengeance. He thinks that Dracula deserves a chance to rest in peace, and he wanted to help build a world that he would want to see.
Aww.
Yeah, a actual proper world or whatnot. That's definitely a lot, which definitely is a little bit more shady given like what he uses and whatnot, but definitely a lot better than what the vampires wanted, and more importantly, what he was by the start of his journey, because he got to know people and see the corruption of power of even those who utilized dark magics. And more importantly, he also becomes quite a bit of a master strategist, especially since a lot better than how his previous partner ended up being Hector, who, long story short, he pretty much gets enslaved by the evil vampire Camilla to be used for making more monsters. Third, he naturally is treated like trash because he didn't realize that Dracula treating him like an actual person was going to be the exception, not the rule, as far as the vampires were going to treat their Forge Master friends. Which, ironically enough, was the fate that he pretty much thought all the other humans would get, so he gets humbled in that aspect. And, he ends up being seduced by Camilla's ambassador, who then puts a magical ring on him to essentially have him be bound to her. And it was a very painful ring.
Oof.
That pretty much was a lot, which the previous enslavement was just physical and a collar. This enslavement was magical, and let's just say she slipped it on after doing, I guess to say, the James Bond tactic of convincing people to side with him.
she got in his pants.
Yes. He became her toy for a bit before, by 4, they have to my understanding, lot more of a amicable relationship. Of course, that does not mean that he's becoming a, docile slave. He just had to work in between the lines, so to speak, especially since he's been working on 2 things. One, working on bringing Dracula back to life, because he gets contacted by the antagonist of 4, who I'm not going to spoil, but let's just say that he is a very big man in Britain. And you wouldn't think of it with his voice, but let me say that he is quite the big shot. I should get a clip sometime. I think it's Barney. But anyway, so effectively he helps set up traps and whatnot to pretty much hinder the efforts of the vampire's forces, as well as helping out what he can with coming up with components to help resurrect Dracula. And by the time Isaac comes, because he figured that his fellow Forest Master was going to eventually come for him, he was willing to sacrifice his life, because as far as he's concerned, and the good, he is at fault for Dracula's death. Which is pretty true. While the Belmonts were the one that dealt the killing blow, Camilla's plan did kill a lot of Dracula's loyal forces, and made it that much easier for the Belmonts to deal with him. Because the vampires are... well, they're not as tough as Dracula. All you need to do is to wear down an opponent, but I think funny enough, a tactic I feel like is not really utilized all too often in modern media. Usually, nowadays, where it has to be a character is overwhelmed by a superior force, rather than properly worn down.
I agree.
Because what Isaac ends up doing in his little battle with Camilla, was that, well, first, he forgives Hector, and Hector, in order to help out properly, chops off his finger with the ring, because the curse only works if it's attached to him.
Well, that's one way of taking care of the problem.
Yes.
It just goes to show that she made a mistake by slipping it onto his finger.
Yep.
Oh God, Link!
Hey, I'm just saying that I'm pretty sure that no guy would ever be able to do it then.
Yeah. But of course, despite all that, that he still had enough feeling for the diplomat to specifically request her not to be executed by Isaac as he was taking over the castle. And funny enough, I think the banker and military strategist for Camilla, when they saw the castle in flames, they're like, "You want to just go get away from here and just enjoy life elsewhere, drinking the blood of peasants or whatnot? You know what? That sounds like a good plan. Let's leave." It's funny because I think earlier that season they actually have a scene with her, with the vampire military lady going out of her way to do all sorts of martial stuff, which ultimately didn't factor to the grander narrative, or at least at the time. For all I know, with season 2, they'll come back again. Well, not season 2, but with the second show, they come back then. Who knows? Let's see. But yeah, so Isaac is taking his time going through the castle, and the other night creatures dealing with the vampire guards, with I believe Hector's monsters not lifting a finger to help out their constituents in that effect. Isaac has all of his creatures focused on trying to kill Camilla afterwards, which leaves her very exhausted when Isaac himself comes about. to try to deal with her. He doesn't manage to specifically outpower her then. She's still a very powerful vampire. So he has to still be careful and gets a night creature to help him move about to even up the agility gain, because he's still a normal human and she's fast enough to go across the room and snap his neck if she really wanted to. But eventually she reached a point where she's just getting more hammered in, if not by Isaac's strike, than by the night creature that she's not keeping a proper eye on. I'm sorry for essentially spoiling this, but like she, in a very grand, make a declaration in her little suicide attempt to pretty much be like, I am Camilla, and Isaac proceeds to move in so fast that she could tell that she was going to be killed by him if she didn't do it immediately. So she swears at him before making herself explode. Which I find funny. Villain's about to do a grand speech, hero moves in, villain decides, you know what, screw you, before doing it.
Strangers of Paradise but from the antagonist side, people.
Yeah, as if the villains realized what Jack was about to do and cussed first.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing I do find about it, though, is that with that particular arc, though, the vampire Camilla pretty much said that that she is, well, she's a misandrist, meaning that she just hates all men and sees them at all as weak, incompetent, and crazy and undeserving of power. Which, ironically enough, is what she turns into by what her sisters, her fellow ambassadors, end up thinking of her by the end of her life.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been better if she just flat out turned into a man.
I think it's better that way, because it shows that the things that she so awfully vilified in the other gender were not something that were exclusive to them, and she was very capable of also suffering. And considering they made, and the thing I find also kind of funny too is that Isaac, the guy she ends up losing to, is a black man. I find it funny because I can think of several media where a black man fights a woman and ends up losing whether the superpowers or being involved or not, or at the very least just being showed as very inferior in the cycle, whether they be a side character, antagonist, or co-protagonist at one point. Looking at you, Finn. That's one crime I consider about the whole Star Wars thing, the fact that Finn didn't got reduced to being just a bunch of Hollywood stereotypes about black characters, which I think is very ironic considering how they claim to be very, diverse and whatnot. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. I think that's essentially it for my little tangent there.
Yeah.
Is there any other things that you can come up with as an equivalent? I know there's not too many that you've talked to me about personally, but I guess, like, any sort of fears? Like, I know My Little Pony is going to go through its next incarnation soon.
Yeah, no surprise there. Gen 5 really hasn't been doing too well.
Oh, what has happened?
I mean, I don't even really know how they could have possibly expect to keep going after it, because what Gen 4 was, a complete rebranding and reboot of this entire of the entire franchise. Something like that was really only a once in a blue moon kind of thing. You can't go on to a next generation after that. At that point, this new direction has to be the face of the franchise from now on. You can continue it with a sequel, but having to rebrand and reboot again, it just feels like a misstep. It's like, you guys, Hasbro didn't really know exactly what kind of lightning in a bottle they managed to strike with Gen 4, and they think that they could just keep the momentum going with what they've always done. But
yeah, but unfortunately, a lot of the stuff in Generation 5, starting with its movie, was not exactly the best. And now they're trying to make direct connections to Generation 4, and it's not working out.
yeah, that's basically where I figure that this will be a problem in, because you would think that basically if they were going to do a Generation 5, then Generation 4 would have been more connected and more referenced, but now it's too late.
Yeah, especially with the main antagonist, Opaline, who's apparently a fire alicorn that knew Celestia and Luna, but we didn't know anything about that until more recently.
Oh, of course, because
like
this character didn't exist.
It's like they apparently retconned the first story we hear from Generation 4, the story of the two sisters.
Oh, so they had her in like as a third sister, or?
No, just an alicorn from this world of alicorns or whatever. But problem is, we never even heard about that too much, if at all.
I see.
It's like they're trying to add to Generation 4, but through Generation 5, and it's not working. And apparently they brought Discord back in somehow.
Well,
oh, good to see they're using the app. I know I enjoyed it a fair bit.
I guess
Sorry,
when you
I figured I had something.
I guess when you are a primordial, eternal force of pure chaos, you can't exactly go away. So, but isn't the art style of this show completely different from Gen 4?
Yes, it is.
So I shudder to imagine what Discord is going to look like, because it's not going to be right.
Yeah, no, you could definitely tell time was not kind to him, let alone the fact that, of course, Fluttershy is no longer around.
Yep, that's one of the drawbacks of being immortal. All your mortal friends are gone.
It's just, I don't know, with all the recent things that's happening and people trying to like make things like super new, super fresh and everything else while still appealing to an audience that's like still around, and it's just not working. Even though they have firm beliefs that it would work, and in the end they're just like disappointing current fans.
Yeah, I think I see the artwork not nearly as appealing as the previous one.
Like I said, they struck lightning in a bottle.
Yep. I'd rather rewatch Generation 4 for like the umpteenth time in a row than see what else is going to be coming.
I think that I'd rather go back and basically like continue after season 4, because that finale was basically a Dragon Ball Z fight, and it's like,
I know.
Yep. I just don't know why I stopped watching after that. You would think that I would be excited to keep going.
Yeah, especially with all the other cameos that are in the background.
The only thing I know for certain is that when I eventually come over to Canada, that's probably going to be one of the few things we watch together.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to like find the episodes on YouTube. I don't have like any of the DVDs.
Oh yeah, maybe that's why I stopped watching, because it's no longer on Netflix.
Yeah. I'll never understand why they don't just. Well, actually, I think I do understand. I think that they're like a money thing.
Yeah, they think that they could keep making money off of things forever.
Well, not necessarily, because otherwise they would just leave it on. I think it's like they have to pay the original creators a certain thing for just hosting it up. Not necessarily for people watching it, but just putting it up. It's why certain shows like Willow get removed, even if they're like new or whatnot, if they just don't have the draw power to bring people in.
I thought that your question was going to be why people just don't put stuff up online for free. Because, I mean, seriously, at some point I feel like these studios need to basically realize that, you know, we just cannot expect to make money with this thing anymore. Let's just release it into the ether.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, like, that's one of the biggest questions that I have for why the Universal monster movies from the 1930s, nobody's put them up on YouTube for free yet. It's like, does Universal still expect to make money off of these things 90 years later?
Okay, sorry, I'm gonna have to... Okay, let's see.
What's going on?
Sorry, I'm like constantly getting Discord beeps on my end. Not sure if it picked up through the mic, so I had to like temporarily mute our server for a bit.
That's actually kind of funny because, like, right around the time that you mentioned Discord, and, like, I'm talking about Discord the character from MLP, and Chaos made his Discord joke, that's when you started getting the Discord messages.
Yeah!
Man, sometimes things just line up perfectly, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one thing about Generation 4 is that it did something that... like very few shows actually do, and that is finding ways of appealing not just to like its intended audience, which of course are like little girls, but find ways of sneaking in little things that get the parents involved. Like, for example, lots of like mainstream media pop culture references. You don't know how many times I always see a Doctor Who pony in the background.
Heck, I'm pretty sure that there's a pony that's supposed to be linked somewhere back there. But anyways...
There was one, actually. There was a brief cameo of a pony that looks like he would be Link if he was ponified, but with Epina's pattern and colors.
Yeah, and he's got the green hat, and his cutie mark is rupees, so...
Yep, and he's pulling a card of rupees. Oh! Yeah. Hey, Barry! The subway remained closed for another 30 years until community funding allowed for its renovation. Okay. Here we go. It ran until 1984 when the main tunnel's extensive repointing finally failed, thankfully in the dead of the night. Huh. Anyways, yeah. And of course, in later seasons, they brought in things that are a little more of the adult style. Like, for example, there was a couple of Rick and Morty ponies.
I was literally about to mention them, too.
Yeah, and then there was, like, this one episode where everyone was trying to save a restaurant. And they brought in a ponified version of
Simon Cowell? No, that's not Simon.
No.
Gordon Ramsay?
Gordon Ramsay, that's it. They brought in a ponified version of Gordon Ramsay. And it looked
actually voiced by Gordon Ramsay?
No, unfortunately it was like one of those silent cameo things. But it looked like him. With like the hair and the outfit and everything. Yeah.
But yeah, like what you said about having appeal to not just their target demographic. That's honestly like one of the things that could basically show that like having a target demographic can actually be somewhat detrimental to the growth of your franchise instead of just trying for something that has mass appeal. Now, granted, I personally think that when you have something that already has a built-in fan base, you definitely gotta respect and appreciate them as much as possible and throw in stuff that you know they're going to like. But in the terms of, like, My Little Pony, their audience has basically been not just girls, but kindergarten level of girls, and they grow out of that phase really quickly. I mean, my niece practically was just born. I blinked, and now she's almost 4 years old and has literally just had her first day of school yesterday. Well, preschool, but still. Where is time friggin' going? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the point
Yep.
is that, like, with My Little Pony, they didn't treat it like it was just this show for very young little girls. They treated it like a show that anybody can just pick up and watch. The characters and the writing, they were that good. They actually had such mass appeal to them that they basically showed that they could pretty much do anything they wanted with the show. At one moment, it could be a slice of life show where somebody has to learn some kind of moral lesson about friendship and all that stuff. And in the next episode, they could be fighting a 7-headed Hydra, or a gigantic Minotaur, or Cerberus. Or even have a knockdown, drag-out Dragon Ball Z style fight.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it can be a mix of both, where it's a lesson, where a character can learn a life lesson, and yet there's still a battle involved. Like, for example, there was this one episode where Applejack is being a little too paranoid about leaving Apple Bloom by herself. Apple Bloom goes off on her own to try to make a delivery by herself and got cornered by Chimera.
Oh.
Yep.
Of which Applejack had to save her from.
And at other times, the show could be a straight-up horror movie. Like when it was revealed that Twilight had an older brother that she conveniently just never mentioned until now. As it turns out, he's getting married to her old babysitter, who herself turns out to be a princess. But as it turns out, this old babysitter she's not really all that nice to her. She doesn't remember all that much, because it turns out this person is actually an imposter who has basically taken the form of this pony of Cadence to basically marry her brother for reasons.
And they promoted it to be like something akin to the big royal wedding of England.
Yeah, that's them making fun of all of that too.
And it worked.
But the idea that they basically did like an entire Body Snatchers plot with this episode arc, it shows that this show definitely had some cojones.
Yep.
I know, right? I can't believe they did Secret Invasions better than Secret Invasions.
Basically.
And introducing a creature that is already in myth and fairy tales and fiction, the Changeling, except taking their own take by making it very insect-like rather than just like something else.
And basically showcasing what you can do with a fan favorite villain like this, because Chrysalis was dang powerful when she got introduced, to the point where the two gods of this world, she literally beats them. They can't stop her. I mean, that's terrifying when you get down to it.
Oh, yeah. And even then, she was never redeemed. Not gonna say how or why, that is strong spoiler territory. But those who watch the actual series finale will know what I'm talking about.
Well, one thing I'll say that I'll be very intrigued, and I look forward to, well, I guess your reaction to how I react to your favorite show.
Yeah.
Well, that's if you guys can even find it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
If there's a will, there's a way.
We'll probably just watch bro new reviews of it anyway.
If there's a will, there's a way.
83%.
Yep. And even to this day, a lot of the bronies still use the Gen 4 stuff for a
Of
lot
course
of
they
their
do.
for a
Like
lot
I
of their
bas-
series and everything.
Like I basically said, like Gen 4 was such a game changer that it basically has to be the face of the franchise going forward. They're literally never going to escape the shadow.
Nope.
Like it either needs to basically like go back and try to be as much more like Gen 4. It needs to either continue Gen 4 or it just needs to end. At that point, you gotta basically either throw in the towel and admit you peaked.
Yeah, and Gen 4 technically is continuing, but in comic form.
Of course.
Thankfully, with a very good comic company called IDW.
Yeah, IDW, they're doing good jobs with all the franchises that they've got a hold on.
Yep.
Yeah, like Sonic
Also,
the
I got
Hedgehog.
good news.
Oh, what's up?
Which
Found it on YouTube.
the
Yay!
entire series?
Yep.
Is it one of those things where you have to pay for each episode to watch?
I can pay for the whole season.
Er,
Grr, arg.
I could. It wouldn't be a problem for
Okay.
me. Don't worry. It's not expensive. It's like $15 a season. There's a lot of episodes that I doubt down the time will be there. It would take up we'd be able to go through like 3 seasons at most.
okay.
Yeah,
Just keep in mind, you'll probably only have like 3 days to watch it all.
exactly.
Yeah, and we'll be doing other things too as well, so.
Exactly. So no need to worry about it.
One thing I do have is a DVD of the My Little Pony movie still like somewhere in my boxes.
Nice. I know there's a show I would gladly show you guys if I was ever there that I already have, which is Jackie Chan Adventures.
Oh, that's on
love that.
Amazon. If you got Amazon Prime, you could watch that. In fact,
Oh, I also
basically,
got it
like,
on YouTube as well, so woohoo.
in fact, basically, like back in November, I basically watched like all the way up until the introduction of Daolong Wong, the Dark Chi Wizard.
Woo!
Oh yeah.
Okay, the main tunnels are clean. It's starting to look far brighter in here than when we started like a while ago.
I know, we just need to get the main place where all the people will be setted.
Yeah, and then that'll be it for this job.
And this stream, I would say, because look how much time it's been taking.
Yeah. There we go.
And imagine, this job would be even longer if I wasn't here.
Yep. Well, the good news is that our estimations about this last week were correct.
Oh?
The fact that we didn't do this because it would take too long.
Yeah, true.
Oh yeah.
Well, this is a $2,000 job, so I'm not surprised there.
And you
Yeah.
only earned 1,100 of that, but 2,000.
Yeah, because I spent a good chunk of it on soap.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Okay. Now to get these gates all cleaned up. Ah, they're metal. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, and another good thing is that they also brought in a few celebrity guest cameos, and it worked out pretty well.
Oh,
One
really?
becoming
Cheese sandwich.
Oh yeah, aka Weird Al Yankovic.
I think what's funny about that episode is that they actually lampoon the fact that Weird Al does parody songs. Out of nowhere, he starts singing "Smile." Hey, that's my song.
Okay, where's the ladder? Aha! I mean, that is his shtick after all. He does parodies.
I know, but the fact that they reference it in the episode, that's the funny part about it.
Yeah. Okay, just keep that there for now. And there was like another celebrity that also like made a musical debut that also reacted to the episode with her little one.
And who was that?
I forget. It was like Lena something. She played the role of a pony that was an old childhood friend of Applejack's that they haven't seen since camp.
Oh, nice.
And became this pop star, but of course her manager made her like something that she never was. And
of course.
But she never lost her core kindness. But he was using her for selfish reasons. And was exploiting that for his own, for like I said, his own gain. She was not a happy camper when she found out. And basically fired him on the spot.
I'm actually surprised that she'd be able to do that. Scumbags like that usually control the contract to the point where they actually can't be fired.
Oh.
Yeah, it was it was Coloratura. That was the name of the pony. That was Applejack's friend. Okay.
We're almost there, gang. We're almost there.
Yep. Yeah, and the thing that even Discord was actually a reference to old school pop media. Well, pop culture.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was based on Q, the villain of Star Trek: The Next Generation, played by the same actor.
So that's why it is. Because honestly, I look at a character like Discord, and I can't help but wonder, why isn't he being voiced by Tom Kenny? Because I honestly think that the voice that Tom Kenny does for like the Amazing Mumbo or even Ice King would be perfect for Discord.
Yeah, no, they decided to go with the original actor, and he loved the role.
I should hope so. It was one of the more interesting characters.
Mm-hmm. And he remained pretty much a fan favorite.
Alrighty. That's one middle platform done. Now to get rid of all the things on the outside.
Let's see. One thing I'm definitely surprised is how long they kept up with using the 10th Doctor for the Doctor Who pony.
Yep.
Time Turner.
I mean, basically, like, let's face it, David Tennant is the most popular incarnation that the Doctor has probably ever had. Matt Smith did a great job, but, well, let's face it, now that Doctor Who has basically gotten itself in a desperate situation because they tried to follow Lucasfilm's example, now they're basically so desperate that they've brought David Tennant back.
Good.
Yeah, but he's not staying, though. He's just basically kind of like a tertiary doctor that's only going to basically be there as kind of like the in-between before the new doctor takes over. And of course, all of this, I think, was supposed to happen sometime earlier this year, so I don't even know if it's happened or not, because, I don't know, I just kind of fell off the Doctor Who news.
Yeah, I'll probably ask Cherry later, since she's the big Whovian of us three sisters. Trust me, you should have heard her ranting and raving about the recent stuff. Woo, boy!
Well, I hope that she only had bad things to say.
Yeah, if I had her on here, I would be really marking this as definitely not safe for kids.
I mean, you should be doing that anyway, because you don't want YouTube to take away your comment section, do you?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. This is why I also throw in the occasional swear. Gotta keep consistent.
Because, I mean, that's like one of the worst things. That's the thing that I've hated the most ever since YouTube basically did that, because I remember basically like posting so many comments on so many videos, funny comments too, and I usually like to go back to these comment sections and basically kind of give myself a laugh because I gotta keep myself entertained. Imagine how disappointed I am to go back to a video that I left a really good, really funny comment on, only to see it's been marked as YouTube Kids, and now the comment section, it's gone. Forever.
Yeah, including on things that are totally not made for kids, because the algorithm thinks, oh, it's animated. Oh, it's meant for kids.
Yep.
When there's like a lot of things that are clearly not meant for kids.
You know, me and my father actually had that argument back when I was a teenager. He basically said, it's animated. But animated stuff it's kid stuff. It's made for kids. You know what I did in response to that?
What did you do?
What?
I showed him a scene from Dragon Ball Z where Cell is introduced.
Oh, you showed him that scene, didn't you?
Yep. The scene where Cell literally drinks a guy. And then I looked at him. He's basically like looking rather stunned, and I'm like, "So tell me, Dad, do you think that was made for kids?"
No,
And something
yeah.
tells me after that he said, "You may have a point."
Let's just say that he was a lot more open-minded whenever I wanted to show him an animated movie from then on.
Good call.
And I'm glad that I basically did that, otherwise I would have never been able to get him to watch The Dark Knight Returns.
Heck, a lot of good, like, frickin' fan-made My Little Pony animations that are, like, really dark also suffered under the whole YouTube Kids thing.
Yep.
Yep.
This is the reason why AI shouldn't be in charge of, well, everything.
Exactly.
Something somewhere is bound to screw with it.
Yep. It could be that you could have a video up on YouTube for years. This video could actually be very popular, one of the few most popular videos of your entire catalog, and yet it seems to not have any problems for 4 years until one day the algorithm discovers you and the Content ID bot is like, hey, this actually has a whole lot of copyrighted material in it, blocked worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's no way to get the video back because you basically can't skirt around the whole copyright thing because you didn't use 10-second clips, and now you just would have to completely butcher the video in order to get it back up.
Oh God, Link, calm down, calm down.
It was one of my most successful videos too, and I've got to re-edit it and get it back up in about a month.
Yikes.
Not to mention I gotta make another video in about a month too.
Ouch.
This is what happens when business isn't ahead of pleasure when it comes to these social platforms.
Basically. I mean,
And people are like jumping ship to try to find other like YouTube-esque things that haven't been caught by this kind of problem. Vimeo was a thing for a while, but then all of a sudden it got shut down.
And Blip, same thing. It's just so disappointing because I remember when I started using YouTube back in 2007, it was practically like the Wild West of the internet. You could basically have videos of all kinds up on it. The next thing you know, it gets bought by Google, and suddenly there are a whole bunch of rules saying that no, you can't do that. It's like, why not? Like, because suddenly all the people that basically owned all this stuff suddenly decided that they didn't want they didn't want their product being basically getting free advertising if they weren't going to get paid for it. I mean, good. Basically, like whoever it is that basically like made YouTube, good on you. Hope that you're enjoying life, but I really hate the fact that you had to sell it to Google.
Yep. Now it just pretty much screwed up everyone.
Pretty much.
Ooh, got another comment. Hey, Gat.
Gat's here?
Oh, good.
Yeah, he's in the chat.
Hey, Gat.
Yeah, don't mind us. We were like kind of ranting and raving over like things that we were really dumb ideas at the time.
Basically.
And up. Haha. Another good jump. Yeah, I don't have the chat thing up on my screen anymore, so. Which I definitely find a lot better because I can actually see things better.
Yep, it's the main reason why I stopped doing it. Alright, I think the floor is completely clean now.
Yeah, let's let this the ceiling.
96%.
Woo! Even then, I think, let me just double check. This tunnel looks clear. And this tunnel looks clear. So until otherwise spoken, I'm going to treat it as if it is clear.
Yep. Huh. Imagine how much faster this was if we had 6 people.
Lightning round, that's what I tell you.
Yep. Yeah.
But alas, doing the story mode limits you to 1 or 2.
Mhm. And you got to complete the level in the story mode in order to unlock it in the other modes.
Yep.
Oh. Oh, this gate's not clean yet.
Alright, that's taken care of.
I'm hearing a puppy in the background.
Yep.
There we go.
I don't have my door fully closed. I really should get through that. Just want to finish this as fast as possible. So we've been at this long enough already.
Yeah, don't worry, we're just about done. Let me just double check. Main ceiling. Okay, I'll let you get back to... No, maintenance doors. Aha!
There we go.
Okay.
2 down.
Metal platform doors. What are those?
Probably the cage doors.
No, these are the gates, and I got them already clean.
Maybe it's in the tunnel?
No, I don't see it in the tunnel. Oh, metal platform floors. Sorry.
Floors.
Ah, it's this one. Ah, got it. Okay, it's the other one. Ah, it's this one. Uh-huh. There we go. Uplight. I missed an uplight.
What's up, light? I'm guessing good then.
Yes, yes. Hey, hey.
But yeah, Gat, we've been here for like 3 hours, I swear.
Okay.
Basically.
Now, trust me, this thing was way dirtier. Yeah! I set myself up with that one.
Basically.
I'm pretty sure I already got these sections.
Although, what can basically be said? Do you guys think that this is better or worse than the Gnome Fountain?
Oh, god damn it.
Definitely better.
Yeah, I should think so too.
Alright, all set to these things.
At least I can cover more space. Reliably.
Yeah. Not as many little nooks and crannies.
Not really in much nooks and crannies. It was just also the fact that like I was just straight up unable to do stuff without having to go microscopic.
Yep. I'm definitely hoping and praying that Lucasfilm does get rebought by George Lucas. Because I'm definitely hoping that things do get better.
It really is kind of a shame because at this point, the damage really is done. But with things like Star Wars, it can be fixed because even though...
Woo!
Got it?
Wait, still 99%.
Wait, what? No, that was a glitch. It's still good.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a glitch.
I feel cheated.
That was so weird. It's almost like the game was, like, trolling you for a second there. But yeah, the damage is done, but with things like Star Wars, it can be fixed. Even without Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, or Harrison Ford coming back.
Okay. Commissioner Baryonyx just simply says, my work has been signed off. Congratulations. That's boring.
Very boring. Come on, Barry, give us something.
That's it. I'm gonna go get the paintbrush.
Okay, looks like the
Didn't
next
need
thing...
Super Mario to clean it up after I'm done.
Okay, and next episode we're going to be starting with the Fortune Teller's Wagon by Uncanny Franny. Check out my new wheels. Everyone says I could talk the legs off a turkey, so I'm joining a traveling fairground as a fortune teller. Got the name, and now I got the right. I picked up from an old lady at a bargain price online. I was the only bidder. She was happy. She wasn't happy and said she cursed me if I didn't pay her for the going rate. It's not my fault that she didn't set a reserve price. It's not like she even looked after the wagon. It's covering anything and everything you can imagine. The rest of the fairground is pristine, so please help. Jeez.
Why do I have a feeling that this isn't going to be good for business?
Yeah, going out graffiti is right, yeah. So yeah, after all the ranting, raving, and cleaning up the big items, next item starting with a smaller job sounds just perfect. So yeah, I like to thank... So yeah, I definitely like to thank Chaos and Link for joining me with this, despite all the ranting and ravings we've been doing over media.
Yep. Always happy to basically vent my frustrations into the ether.
Sneak attack!
Yep. And so yeah, if you guys like what you see, you can like, subscribe, and everything. And remember, the only real magic you have is your imagination. And a far better
water gun.
Yeah.
And don't forget to always take care of your uplight.
I will always take care of my uplight. I'm cleaning it right now.
Bye, everyone.